Bro, if you're wondering why your physique still looks like shit, then I'm going to be rating a bunch of reasons as to why this is, all the way from physique destroyer, things that will absolutely destroy your physique and make you look like shit, all the way down to doesn't really matter, things that, to be honest, are kind of cope, okay? And we're starting straight off with testosterone levels. Testosterone levels, having low testosterone is absolutely going to be a physique destroyer because we need testosterone to function in all realms as men, okay? And if you're trying to build muscle, having testosterone is going to provide you with enough energy and enough motivation, as well as optimize hormonal pathways in your body to produce muscle. And that's why you see guys who are super fat, super out of shape, doing super bad habits in their life, they seem to have shit physiques as well. And that's because although they may be training hard in the gym, their testosterone levels are low. And this was specifically the case for me. When I was eating all the wrong foods, doing all the wrong things, I was still in the gym and I was wondering why I looked like shit, and testosterone was the reason. Once I was able to boost it to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, get inside of that upper level natural range, and that's when my physique started taking shape and looking good, because testosterone will not only dictate the speed at which you can build muscle and make it more effective, but it will also help you distribute body fat into better areas so you don't look like a fucking sack of potatoes. Because when I was low test, that's how I looked. And you notice that a lot of the high testosterone guys that are injecting steroids especially, they seem to just have better fat placements and they seem to look more aesthetic naturally, even though they haven't really changed that much, okay? So it's going to be absolute physique destroyer. Next, we're going to have alcohol. Absolute physique destroyer once again. Guys, if you are drinking alcohol, you do not realize the effects it has on your body. It is literally neurotoxic. It is literally poisoning your fucking brain. And obviously, it's going to poison your physique as well. You can tell a beer drinker when you see one, okay? I always see all the old heads in the gym who think they're buff because they have big arms, but they just have a massive flabby gut. And even the guys that look like they're in shape with a muscle fit shirt on, their arms look great and their shoulders look okay. But then you look at their gut and it doesn't match up. They somehow look good in some regions, but then their stomach is fat as fuck and bloated, and their physique is sloppy and they literally look like a beanbag. And that's because when you drink a lot of alcohol, guys, I remember this myself, you will give yourself extreme bloating and you will lower your hormones and you'll increase your estrogen. And there's literally things to prove that drinking like 2 beers contains the same amount of estrogen as a birth control pill. So if you're going out on the weekends and drinking like 10 beers every single Friday and every single Saturday, that is literally like 10 birth control tablets that you are taking. And no wonder why your progress is stalling. No wonder why you look like shit. Again, it links to testosterone also. It's just going to make your body composition look like shit. It's going to fatigue you. It's going to screw up your recovery because your liver and your body is trying to excrete this literal fucking poison from your body. So no wonder why you can't look good and be aesthetic. And as well, the extra calories. If you're not drinking spirits, if you're drinking beer and all these other bullshit sugary alcohols, then you are literally just adding empty calories. You're going over a surplus and you're going to look fat and you're not going to be shredded. You're not going to be aesthetic. Simple as that, okay? Next thing we have is the ketogenic diet. I would say that this is going to fall into, I'm going to say big negative. And the reason this is because when you're on keto, which is basically depleting yourself of carbs, you are going to look flat as fuck. You are going to be depleting all your glycogen from your body. And people often do this to try and lose weight and get shredded quicker. But all it's really doing is depleting you of water weight. You may lose a bit of fat in the process because your body reverts to burning fat as energy. But if you're not stupid, you understand that carbs are the main source of energy for humans, especially if you're trying to get bigger, especially if you're trying to be aesthetic. We need carbs to train, okay? And I remember back in the day when I was trying to experiment with different diets, and I have diabetes myself, so I thought keto was going to be optimal for my performance. And while it decreased the carbs and made it a little easier to manage my blood sugar, in terms of aesthetics, in terms of how my physique looked, I looked shit. I looked flat as fuck because all my glycogen had just disappeared and been used, and I couldn't train optimally. I had zero energy. I couldn't push weights as heavy as I used to, and it just made me feel terrible and look terrible. And that's why I always say to guys, you should never cut out any single macronutrient. Obviously, we need to keep protein in all times, but guys make the mistake of either cutting out carbs, doing the keto diet, or cutting out fats and then becoming low testosterone, flabby, and just literally turning themselves into fucking women and complaining about why they don't have a sex drive, why they can't have any motivation, why they can't even hit the gym consistently, why they can't build muscle. Well, it's because they've cut out a macronutrient. Okay, now next we have no goal. Now, a lot of the times in the gym, guys are going in there and all they understand is they want to build muscle, but they're not sure why, okay? And this can cook you. I remember when I first started, all I wanted to do was to build muscle, but I wasn't sure how, I wasn't sure what the end goal was. That's why it is so important to understand what you're actually training for, because you can go in there with a powerlifting intent, you can go in there with an aesthetic intent, you can go in there trying to be a fucking strongman, trying to be an athlete. If you don't know where the fuck you're going, then how the fuck are you going to get there? It's about optimizing your program, optimizing your routine for you. And if I was you, I would recommend building an aesthetic physique and targeting the female gaze, because after all, you are probably a guy who's insecure. You're probably a guy who started the gym because he hated his life, got no results in dating, or got no social success. So building an aesthetic body that is biologically wired inside of people to be deemed as attractive and respectable is the way to go. You don't want to be bloating and becoming a power lifter, because then you look like shit. Yeah, you're strong, but honestly, nobody cares if you can bench fucking 150 kilos if you look like fucking baked beans, bro. If you look like shit, if you look sloppy and you look flabby, nobody really cares, because I don't know about you, but I just want to be able to take my shirt off at the beach, look aesthetic, get people looking at me and think, fuck, this guy put in the work. And if you're doing a lot of different training methods, like training to be a powerlifter, even training to be a bodybuilder can get you some bad looks. So I'll just recommend building the female gaze physique. And that's the reason as to why people have no goals that I created my community, which you can find out how to build this female gaze physique from any starting point, including a shit one, just like I had myself, and change your life and get real world results as a result of it. You can check the link in the description for that. But we are moving on to the next point that will kill your physique. And that is an interesting one. It is actually being pale. Now, this is not too significant, so I'm going to put this in try to fix, but being pale is actually quite influential on your physique, all right? Because you have to understand that tanned guys often look better, and that's because when you have a darker skin complexion, you're able to cast more shadows on your physique and everything looks more standout. It's less blurry and it simply just gets more defined. And that's why you see the Bali physique, for example, all the motherfuckers in Bali, they combine being shredded with being tanned, okay? Simply because it allows them to create an incredible amount of down shadow and make everything look so segmented and aesthetic. After all, that's what we want, okay? So if you are pale, we should just be trying to get into the sun. When I actually got outside and started tanning, and especially I went to Bali for like a month and I got tanned as fuck compared to what I used to be, I didn't even gain muscle. I think I lost muscle, and people were saying I looked bigger and more shredded, and that's simply because of getting tanned. So if you can, get out in the sun more and get more vitamin D inside of your diet as well, okay? Next, we have poor posture. This, surprisingly, is actually going to also be a crazy physique destroyer. And I see it a lot of the times. Guys have trouble activating certain muscle groups, and I'm the same way as well, because I was a gamer, I had shit posture, and you might be as well. If you have this hunchback posture, or if you have like anterior pelvic tilt, problems with your hips, all these things, what's going to happen is you're going to get pains and you're going to get aches, and you're not going to be able to train exercises that will build an attractive physique. Your progress is going to stall, and therefore you may look like shit. And this is the case when guys have trouble even touching their backs, like scratching their fucking back and like bending over to touch the floor. If you can't do this, how are you supposed to load exercises and build muscle in these movement patterns and ranges, okay? For me, for example, I have naturally rounded shoulders from having shit posture, so it has affected my ability to grow my chest, because every time I fucking do it, I'm contracting my shoulders instead because they're in front. Okay, that's why guys that are super flexible often have the best physiques, because they have a lot of range of motion available to them. It's a physique destroyer for sure. If you are not working on your posture, if you are not stretching, then you are making a huge mistake. And honestly, I didn't think it was a concern, but once I started building muscle in other groups, then I realized that a lot of groups were lacking, and that was because I wasn't able to activate them properly, because I had hunchback fucking scoliosis posture, okay? So next, we're going to go on to genetics. Now, as much as people love to cope all day and complain about having shit genetics, I think it can cook you, but it is definitely not a big negative. It is definitely not a physique destroyer, because the reality of it is a lot of guys are not training as hard as they need to be to actually move the needle. Most guys use genetics as a complete cope. They say, oh, I'm skinny, my metabolism's too fast, my metabolism's too slow, I'm fucking fat because of this reason, I'm fat because of that reason. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Anybody can build an attractive physique, even if you have some shit genetics, okay? What I want to tell you is if there is a motherfucker out there who was once skinny and who got aesthetic just like me, if there was a fat motherfucker out there who got shredded and got aesthetic just like people I know, then it is possible. You are not some genetic fucking outlier that has scoliosis, fucking can't build muscle disorder, like can't eat, no appetite. You do not have something special, okay? You are not special. You are simply just being lazy, or you just don't have the routine and the discipline in place to build the physique in the first place. So, as much as it can cook you a bit, naturally, guys are going to be able to build muscle faster than others. And you see these as often the influencers online that can build muscle 5 times as quick as other people, but that still cope to say that genetics are the reason you look like shit. You're simply just not putting in the work enough, okay? Next, we're going on to cardio, and a lack of doing cardio could be a big negative as to why your physique looks like shit. And this is because of a numerous amount of reasons. Most guys, when they start lifting, just like me, all they care about is building muscle. And especially if you are skinny, you do not want to waste any calories by doing cardio. It's all about eating, it's all about lifting. But the problem becomes when you don't do any cardio, you are actually misinterpreting how easy it is to blow out your calories and to start getting fat. Doing daily cardio, just doing your 10 to 12k steps a day, is essential for not only heart health, so you can actually not gas out in the gym and be out of breath like a fucking bodybuilder. It's also essential because it creates discipline. It is a daily habit that is going to get you towards goals of general fitness, okay? You want to be aesthetic. You want to be attractive. You want to be a well-rounded guy. What's the point of having muscle if when you reap the benefits of having it, you can't even use it? You go on a date with an attractive fucking girl and she wants to go for a fucking jog or she wants to go for a swim and you can't even fucking do anything without gassing out and without being puffed, okay? It's just pointless. You still need to have general fitness, and as well, it's going to keep your physique in check. It's going to stop it from getting sloppy because that small amount of steps, that daily consistent effort and steps and general activity, not being a couch potato, is going to keep things in track, and it's going to create you a little bit of buffer so you don't go over your calories too much, you don't blow out, you don't get fat. You can stay at a relatively good and comfortable body fat percentage without doing anything too extreme. Okay, so do your cardio. Don't be fooled that just because you're skinny and you're trying to bulk up, you should cut cardio completely. No, play a sport, do some light cardio, just get it done. It is simply just essential because there is not a time in life where you don't plan to be walking or being generally fit. Okay, it's not all about muscle here. And this ties quite well into the next thing, which is overtraining. A lot of guys look like shit simply because they've fallen for this belief that they need to be training every single day, okay? They've heard this thing that if you're not training every single day like David Goggins, then you are weak, you're not masculine, you're fucking wasting time, okay? Yes, this is semi-true. You should be doing something every single day, and that's why I advocate for these walks, just being generally active. But if you're actually training hard, if you're actually in the gym pushing your fucking self, going to the point where you literally can't even fucking breathe hardly because your face is about to fucking pop, you're about to explode like a fucking tomato, then why do you need to train every day? You're getting enough stimulus and you need recovery, okay? That's why overtraining, it can cook you. I remember when I was in university, I literally trained bench press. I did chest press 7 or 8 days in a row. My mate and I were counting a streak and we thought this was funny. We thought this was good, but little did I know, it made me regress. You would think that practicing it every day would make me get better. No, my recovery was shit. I felt like shit. My cortisol levels were skyrocketed, and that left me with a bloated face. It added body fat to my physique. It slowed down muscle gain, all sorts of negatives, because overtraining is not just a feeling, right? It's how it affects your overall nervous system. And that's why your muscles can't contract properly. That's why your cortisol increases. It leads to all sorts of cascading negative effects. When you're in the gym, you're going to be operating at 70%. You'd rather have the rest day, have the 2 rest days even, and then train 100% and get the most progressive overload, the most progress you can out of your gym session, so you can make progress in the first place and not spin your wheels like so many guys. Okay, and the final thing that we're going to talk about here is muscle insertions. Now, honestly, I'm going to say this doesn't really matter because this is similar to genetics. A lot of guys are saying their physique looks shit because they have poor muscle insertions. And I've coped with this myself, okay? I have the worst calf genetics ever. I don't even put this shit in the videos because my calves are too small. They are high and they are skinny and my lower legs are small, okay? And that makes them look like shit. But what I realize is I can stop coping and instead I can just build bigger upper legs, bigger quads, bigger thighs, bigger hamstrings and glutes, and it will kind of offset this. And that's the same as people with biceps. They complain about having a short bicep head when, or a long bicep head even. But realistically, they haven't even done enough to bring up their overall physique development to point out weaknesses and to complain about these things. Because let's face it, if you're starting out skinny and you have short biceps or you have long biceps or you have, sort of narrow clavicles or bigger narrow clavicles, all these genetic insertion points and bone structure things, then if you just build enough muscle, if you just get lean enough, if you just get attractive enough, no one is really going to be critiquing your physique. Everyone's just going to think, oh, he looks quite good. It's not about where your muscles are fucking inserted and if you got the genetic lottery, okay? It's about how much work you can put in. That's why I advocate on this channel that even the underdog, even the shit guy who was once invisible and who is skinny right now and who looks like shit or is fat right now, whatever, you can still move the needle towards building an attractive physique. And there is no excuse. I've done it. Lots of other guys who are in a shit position did it, and they experienced the worldly benefits of building an attractive physique. I think it's the number one thing you can do in your life as a guy trying to improve and trying to actually stand out in 2026. And like I said, that is exactly why I built my community, because I want to show guys, I want to make it my mission to help dudes build this physique and build themselves towards experiencing the positive benefits that comes from having a good body. So with that being said, this has been the tier list as to why your physique looks like shit. If you want a part 2 to this video, then comment below. But with that being said, remember that progress is purpose, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.